how do you put SSDs into your computer?
Hi, I'm Paul. This is Diane. We're the PC Zombies, and today we're going to put SSDs into our high-end computer build. So, Di, you ready to start installing these SSDs?
Oh, I can't wait.
All right, this is going to be fun. Now, the first thing you need to do is make sure your computer's power's off. So we go to the back and flip the switch. After you turn off your PC, then you want to use an anti-static wrist strap.
Do I need one of those?
You're going to be filming.
Okay.
So I'll try to handle all the other stuff myself, okay? But if you find yourself, I'm handing you an SSD or something, make sure you touch the mat with one hand so that you're grounded, and only touch it on the edge of the SSD.
And balance on one foot?
No balancing.
All right, got it.
All right. Okay, Di, now there are two places where there are SSDs. This is a heatsink and this is a heatsink. This top one is actually not one we're going to use anyways. This socket shares the PCIe lanes with your graphics card or your main slot. So if you have a graphics card that works on 16 lanes, you're only going to get access to 8 lanes if you put an SSD in this first socket. So we're not going to even bother with it because we do need our graphics card to work. We spend way too much money to have it work at half the bandwidth.
Right.
The rest are under this bottom heatsink. I will point out right up front that this is a refurbished motherboard. We had an original motherboard, went out of cycle because of our filming, and we had to send it back, and we got back a refurbished one. First of all, we got to remove these 4 screws. Always use the largest Phillips that fits. Now this is really big Phillips, so it doesn't fit at all. Next size down fits. Now you use the largest Phillips so you don't strip out the Phillips screws. On this ASUS motherboard, these screws stay in, so we just loosen them. You take off the heat sink. These are thermal pads for the SSDs. Someone had tried to use 2 of the SSDs in the refurbished motherboard, but not all 4. If you look down here, you can see someone had already kind of messed up a little bit of this thermal pad, but it doesn't affect us at all. You plug in the M.2 on that side, and this is the part that holds the other side of the SSD. This one has the M.2 plugs in here. M.2 is the name of the sockets that will hold your SSDs. These 2 have thermal pads on them because they're ready for double-sided SSDs, which we're not using. So we're going to actually have to build up a little bit before we put our SSD in. This one doesn't even have a thermal pad underneath, so you wouldn't put a double-sided SSD onto this slot, or if you do, you risk it getting overheated. And the final 4th one is over here. This big thing right here?
Yes.
That's another heatsink, and underneath this heatsink is the chipset. Some of the SSDs will be going straight to the chipset, but so will the USB and Ethernet and audio and other things. The top slot is the one that goes to the CPU. These 3 SSDs go to the chipset. Remember this blue film, Di?
Yes.
That's on the back of the heatsink? These would have been on top of here. Some people forget to peel the little film that's on the SSD. Otherwise, your SSD will overheat and get throttled.
Oh, interesting.
In fact, your games will start to stutter. The person who had that refurbished motherboard before us has already peeled the tape off, so let's go to the next step. You see these little circles here, Di?
Yes.
Those are so that if you have a short SSD, like it only goes this far, you could peel up that circle of thermal pad and install a latch right there, or latch here for an even shorter one. But we're using full-size SSDs, 2280, so we don't need to do that. You buy an SSD, it actually shows you the link that says 2280, and you know that's the one you're buying. This is the SSD we're going to install. This is one of the 4 terabyte ones, and underneath this piece of paper here are the big chips. There are no chips on the back, it's smooth, so we know it's a single-sided SSD. There's a little tiny thickness to the chip. That needs to be built up a little bit. On this thermal pad right now is hanging a little bit lower for a double-sided SSD. So what we got to do is remove the specific circle that it tells you to in the manual, in this case the one closest to the Q-Latch, remove that circle of material, thermal pad, and take it out. It's nice to have a little plastic tool like this because you can kind of get up under it. I don't care if I rip it, doesn't matter. We're not going to be using that. We're going to now install this rubber standoff that will lift and support the SSD a little bit higher so that when we put the heatsink back on the top and it pushes down on that SSD, we don't want it to cause any warping of the SSD. Now you see how there's a big hole here and a little hole? We're going to put the bottom of that standoff into the big hole and then slide it forward so it gets locked in. So we put it down here on the big hole and then slide it this way. Boom. It It's locked. So that now holds that SSD just a little bit higher so it doesn't warp. Do the same on the other one. This thermal pad on the bottom is really not being used at all. That standoff is actually the height of the SSD once it's installed. This is a Q-Latch. That's one of the ASUS inventions that makes it easy. You rotate this Q-Latch so it's pointing away from the SSD. Same with this one over here. You put the connecting side of the SSD into the M.2 slot. It kind of stands up. You push it down until it's by that Q-Latch, and then you rotate the Q-Latch around till it grabs it. You see how that works?
Yeah, you
It's easy to
fastened
do
it.
the same with the next one, only this one goes the other direction.
Are these the large SSD?
Yes, both of these are 4 terabytes. That's what I wanted to do. So this one has the CPU direct access. This one is to the chipset. The next one's going to be my system and apps. And the last one will be a 4 terabyte backup SSD for data. Now we got the next 2 slots to do. They have the same problem. They're built for double-sided SSDs. This is the only standoff on these slots, but it's not quite thick enough. So what ASUS gives you is these square pieces of rubber you could just stick on top of it.
Oh, okay.
So this square piece of rubber, see that? Mm-hmm. I just put that right on top of that square. Now this is built up a little bit higher, so that's good. These are literally, this rubber is exactly the thickness of a chip on the other side of the SSD, if there was a chip there. So before we put these in, we point them out. And as I told you, I was going to make the third one is going to be my system and apps. So that's 2 terabytes. Done, easy. Last critical step. ASUS already put thermal heat pads on the back of the heat plate. Make sure you know exactly where it's going to hit if you're using less than all of them. I'm using all of them. Peel this piece of film or you will really downgrade the performance of any SSD underneath it. Now all 4 thermal heat pads are ready to go and I can remount this, set it down into place. So what do you think, Di?
Well, I didn't realize that the actual installation of SSDs would be so critical to the performance of the computer.
Oh yeah, it makes a big difference. What's going to the CPU, what's not, what's taken away from the graphics card, what's not. Is it double-sided chips? If it isn't and you don't put the right standoff in, you're going to potentially bend your SSD. It may not get enough thermal heat transfer to the heatsink. And always peel those little plastic strips, guys.
I'm excited that we're finally moving on to software.
I know, and the PC will be usable after this.
Yes.
I mean, we could actually use it, although we're going to go a lot further. So please subscribe. We're going to put a custom water loop in. We're going to do some optimizing and overclocking. You got to see the rest of this build. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.